Welcome. We're here with Chris Hodges. We're talking all things Veteran Finance Collective. And so thanks for being here today. Really great to have you in studio, Chris.
Absolutely, man.
I wanted to start things off. You and I go way back, obviously, but
Yeah.
for someone who's maybe meeting you for the first time, who are you and what do you do today?
Yeah, awesome, man. So I'm a father and a husband, first off, veteran. Been married to my wife for 18 years now. I had to pause to make sure I got that correct. But 18 years we've been married, been together for 20 plus years, friends before that. Lucky to be married to my best friend. Got two daughters. I've got one at home still, one that's off and married. Her and her husband, he's a soldier. And so they're stationed down at Fort Hood or Fort Cavazos, depending on when you've served. But yeah, first and foremost, that's it. Veteran, like I said, myself, business owner, and just all around veteran advocate.
Wow, that's very impressive, man. And I love how you led with father and husband. That's incredible. What did your career look like before VFC? What experiences most shaped how you show up for people now?
Yeah, man. I'm kind of all over the map. I'm gonna be honest. So I don't like to stay in one place, sit still very long. I have done just about everything you'd think that I wouldn't or shouldn't do. Obviously served in the military for 9 years. When I got out to use my GI Bill, went to school, and I was a veteran advocate for the education benefits.
Oh,
So I actually taught classes. I went to base. I worked in different facilities, just teaching service members how to utilize their veteran benefits for education, right? How to go to school. Used mine to get my master's degree. Once I got my master's degree, I started working in finance, right? Never in a million years would I thought I was going to work in finance, but I started working in a bank as a branch manager and just turning branches around. So I was in South Florida and they literally took this guy who had no background in finance other than he had a master's degree and plugged me into the biggest failing branch there was that they were expecting to close. It was in a rough area, man. It was not a good area at all. Getting knocked off like every other week, and I turned it around, and that's not bragging or ego. It's just I was blessed to have a good team that I could lead to success. And once we turned that bad boy around, they said, "Wow, you're onto something. Let's put you in another one." Right.
okay.
So as much as I thought I was going to step up and I had earned my place, they're like, no, you're onto something. I did it for a second time. And then after that, when the third one rolled around, I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going to choose something else to do. I started getting into veteran advocacy for mortgages. I had
Okay.
really missed being a veteran advocate at that point. And I had a company reach out to me that was a really large nationwide company. And they said, look, you still have some great connections at the different bases, different units. And we'd love to have you come in and help us grow our footprint and grow where we have branches for mortgages, right? And speaking to veterans about their benefits when it comes to VA home loans. So I started doing that. I was a national director of business development for this company. And basically, we would go into areas and we would help establish a mortgage branch. We would hook them up with base access. We would hook them up with realtor relationships just so that they were set and they could be successful. And we did that through doing classes and teaching veterans and active duty about their benefits. Did that for a few years. And my wife, who had worked in the industry since I met her, was like, you're kind of a knucklehead. Like, why are you going and building these things for other people? Why don't we do it to where we have control over how we're helping veterans, right? Because that was one of the issues that I had with that company is they just weren't leading with helping, right? It was all
Okay.
over in their name. And they were, don't get me wrong, they're a great company, but almost all of them were non-veterans themselves. And they were just kind of taking advantage of that piece. And there was some stuff with that I didn't love. And so my wife said, why aren't you just doing this yourself so you can control it? So that's what we did, man. Went out and started our own mortgage thing. And we've been rolling with that for quite a few years now. And that's my background.
So looking at that incredible experience, and I can totally see how it shapes different ways that you show up, and it almost sounds like your experience in baking, it was the reward for hard work is more hard
More
work.
hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go do it again.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible. Why do you think people trust you with something as important as their finances or their...
I think just from a standpoint of, I'm caring, man. I'm approachable. But I don't pull any punches. Like it's just no bullshit. I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I think that lends itself to veterans and service members and just the fact that they know they can trust somebody who's going to give it to them straight. It's not always what you want to hear.
Most of the time when you're having those difficult conversations, are you also coming up with a realistic plan or what it will take? Or
Yeah.
here's our starting point. good, bad, or ugly, right? No judgment around that. But and here's where we need to go, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna be hard work, but you can do this like thousands of others have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been the key, right? Is that there's a plan in place. I'm not just going to shoot your dreams down. I'm not going to pop your balloon. I'm not going to say, hey, it just sucks. Good luck. It's not right now, but here's the plan on how to get out and to get into where you want to be. And that's been the key.
Okay, meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that, man. What's a misconception people have about what you do for a living? And what do you wish veterans understood at a higher level?
Yeah. So I think from specifically a mortgage standpoint, I think the biggest misconception is that you have to have the lowest rate, right? Like society in general, I think in society, all we want to talk about is the lowest, absolute lowest rate. Where I see people get into trouble with that is that companies will market to that, right? And so my first primary example of when I bought a home, I was approached, I was told to go to this lender that was a partner of a real estate agent. And I didn't know her. I just trusted my real estate agent to send me to somebody good. This lender I thought was great until I got to the closing table. She quoted me a rate. I thought it sounded good. I get to the closing table 30 days later, and I'm starting to question why there's $8,000 specifically in something called points. And I didn't understand what that was. And what it was is that the rate she had quoted me included a cost. I was buying that lower interest rate.
Okay.
Nobody told me that. And I didn't find out to the closing table, and it was costing me more money out of pocket, even though I had a VA loan. So I would have wanted to be given the choice, and I think that's the biggest misconception I see is in society, we're so fixated on the lowest possible rate that we don't ask the question, how are you getting to that rate? And why is that the rate? I'd like to have the choice. I'd like to have the choice of, do I want to pay it down or do I not? And what is the difference between that and maybe the price without or the rate without buying it down? And does it change my monthly payment that much? Those are all things I think we should know. And unfortunately, we're just asking the question, what's the rate, right? Because that's what we've been trained to do.
Well, and that's what the news has told us to do.
Yeah.
And no, I totally agree with that. I want to go back and I'm going to ask you that question again, and I want to get an answer from a VFC perspective as well, right? So Chris, what's one of the misconceptions people have about your line of work that you're doing with VFC? And what's something you wish the veterans just understood better?
Yeah, I think that finances are a living, breathing thing, right? And I think that one of the biggest misconceptions I see out there is that I screwed up and I'm just doomed, right? My credit's shot, I'm doomed. I've got a lot of debt and it is what it is. Maybe I missed some payments. Maybe I charged off. Maybe I had a vehicle repossessed. And it is what it is. I'm doomed, right? And I want veterans to understand that this is a living, breathing thing that can be fixed. Everything can be fixed. I've been there myself. I've been through every single thing you can do. I'm literally a walking stereotype in my younger career in the military, right? So I think I'm an example of that, and I want to share that with people, and I want them to understand that it's not the end. Like, you can definitely climb out of this.
Oh, it's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that.